Hi guys and girls, Matt Crossfield here, talking why you can't strike your driver. Now, striking driver is super important. Look at that shot there. It's an awful, massive hook, pull hook almost, compared to a nice little gentle draw up the left. We quickly look at those two shots. So you can see here the deviation is crazy different. The club face was only 2.6 degrees different between those two drives. So 2.6 degrees close, like that's not massive. Look at the difference in the two strikes, last shot to first shot. If you are practicing, not monitoring where you hit the ball on the face and trying to relate it to some of your patterns, you, by definition, are not really practicing. Let's talk a little bit about the reasons why you might not be able to hit the ball in the place on the face, which gives you the best golf shots. Kick us off, let's talk club face control. One of the biggest reasons I see golfers not being able to control strike is because they can't control where the face relates to where the path of the club is swinging. And also you could think about that, where the face relates into where you want the ball to start, hopefully somewhere near your target. So I'm gonna hit a few shots here, I'm gonna hit 4 drives, and I'm gonna hit good old big slices near target if I can, but it's not easy. So you can see it curving, common bad shot, even when it hits target, big curvature. In those comments down below, let me know, do you hit drives that even hit target, but they curve a lot in the air? Big curvature is what you're gonna see for lots of golfers. It does affect strike. Right, let's show you those 4. So that's those 4 strikes. As I struggle to control the face to path, what happens is I struggle also to control the strike as I hunt for it. So you can see up to 12 degrees here out to in with a face 10 open to that path. So the fact that the face is so right of the direction the club is traveling on is requiring me to really hunt on the face to try and find a strike as I try to manage those numbers. Watch, I'm gonna hit 4 more now where I try and line up the numbers a little bit more so face and path kind of syncing. Right, if we look at those 4, so the 4 strikes now getting a little bit more grouped. We're going to see variations with these strikes, but less. If you think about your driving and all your golf, the less variation you have on a shot, the more you can learn to play a consistent shot, regardless what that shot is. If it's doing the same each time, you've got more chance of hitting a target. And we're now seeing paths 0.9 out to in, face 0.7 open, so very small numbers of it as everything lines up for impact. Face the path, face control is a killer for people controlling strike. Now, there'll be plenty of people who fall outside of this. You know, you can hit 6 across and have the face open the path and you can strike it. So if you're one of those people, don't worry about it. Keep playing good golf. But for the majority, if I was to cast the net over most of the students I've taught over the years when they've got big deviations in club face. So if you look at the first data set, we got faces of 5.8 open going up to 11, where the second data set, look how much closer they all were. 2.2 degrees standard deviation on face to path compared to under 1 degree on the second batch. By having to manage less angles as I go is allowing me simply to throw the head at the ball and concentrate on that better strike. When the angles are more severe, you can see me really trying to search and fix. So look, face the path, general rules of thumbs you can use to try and persuade your face of path and then see how it relates to your strike next time you're practicing. Common one, wrist angles. So think wrist angles going, the more you flatten lead wrist with lead arm, the more that face is going to be squaring to slightly closing to a path. If you were to really bow it down, it would be closing to a path as a general rule. So the more you extend lead wrist at the top of your backswing, the more that face might start trying to get more lofted, and in turn might return more open to a path. So understanding how to flatten your wrists more and extend your wrists more and see how that relates to strike can really calm down the face to path numbers. Now what also relates to that is your starting position with your lead hand. So let's pretend I've got all 4 knuckles, so what we would call a strong grip. And I play pretty good solid golf by seeing all 4 knuckles here. let's say compared to a 1 knuckle weak grip, which is what I was using to hit those slices. A 4 knuckle grip, top of the backswing, then flattening lead wrist is going to cause loads more curvature than if you've got the standard 2 to 3 knuckle grip with a flat lead wrist. And then in turn, if you've got only 1 knuckle at the start, so the weak grip, you're going to have to really bow your wrist to get them all in equivalent positions. So working out how much extension and flexion or how neutral your lead wrist at the beginning and working that into what you see at the top might help you get control of that face to path and strike it a little better. So general rule of thumb, the more flattening of that lead wrist compared to whatever start position you're in, the more you'll get the face closing to a face to path, the more you extend. People understand as cupping that lead wrist. As a general rule, you're going to see more of the shots I was hitting, the big curvatures. As soon as the face to path numbers get big, often you find golfers try to really search for strike. Point 1, get control, get some understanding of your face to path. Okay, next reason people struggle to control strike. I'm going to hit some shots now where I hit a long way down at the ball and I'm going to move my low point ahead of the ball. So think about low point. Club starts on the ground, I take it up over my head, I bring it back down, it gets somewhere near the ground, and then it goes back up over my head. There is a low point that you return to somewhere, hopefully down by the ball. Now with my driver, I'm generally hitting kind of 2 to 6 degrees up. So my low point would be before the ball with the driver. Now, if you're someone who can't control low point, so I'm going to move mine now, hit a series of shots, drilling it down, and low point now is forward of where that ball was. Watch what happens to the deviation of my strike. So I'm hitting 6 down, my low point is ahead of the ball on these shots. And now look what happens to these 4. Look at the deviation between high and low. So similar to when we had angles where the face and the path were glancing, so almost like every part of that club was having a go at hitting the ball and dotting it across the face. Now what we see when I start getting low point way ahead and hitting down is I can hit from the bottom to the top, so the deviation from the top to the bottom becomes massive. And remember, these kind of strikes, no matter how good a swing you put on the club, they're having a straight path, straight face, but not being able to control low point, deviating those strikes is going to give you massive changes in dispersion, short to long. Like we're talking 60 yards from the shortest to the longest, which means you're not going to get over hazards when you think you could and should, just purely because strike is working against you. So rule of thumbs for controlling the low point. Point 1 for you to go and practice and check. If you're someone who's hitting way down on the ball, low point's forward, and you get strikes going very high and low, remember if you've got a long way down and across with an open face to buff, you then start really seeing the face going not only low and high but heel and toe as well. So I'm going to go too far, I'm hitting too far down on the ball, low point's too forwards, I'm going to push that ball up towards say the middle of my lead foot. And what I'm going to do is when I set up, I'm going to make sure my head is behind the ball, I'm going to try and feel like I turn and stay behind the ball, and as I hit the ball, stay behind the ball. I'm trying to move low point maybe before the ball to then try and get that ball on the way up. Now vice versa, if I'm someone who gets to low point too early, hits the ground, top shots, those kind of things, which is equally going to affect your strike, I might move my ball position to just inside my left heel and then see what that does to my strike patterns and to my shapes of shots. So remember, ball position isn't cast in stone. There isn't a correct ball position. There are certain playing fields, so driver maybe inch or 2 inside left heel up to big toe, so almost like a club head's width down by that lead foot, will give you subtle changes in the angle of attack, which might allow you to improve strike. You've got to use your playing field. Don't think you've just got to set your ball position in one place. You need to find which one works for your delivery. Now, other killer deliveries that encourage massive downs for golfers, this is like the biggest issue I've seen through golf, is not understanding the relationship between the path of the hands and the head. So we need to try and get the club head coming under whatever path the hands are coming on. When you do this with golfers, the general pattern is they tend to get to the ground a little earlier with a driver if the ball position's up forward, and then hit on the way up, thus helping them with their strikes. So if you're someone starting a downswing and standing that shaft up, this is really encouraging people to get into a little bit of a crash landing position, so the club's really crashing down They then start pulling up, you get high handled deliveries, but they don't pull out in time, hitting the ball way on the way down with that low point way too forwards. So once you've got your ball position set up correctly, if you've got a little bit of turning behind the ball and some angles in your downswing and that's still not doing it, if you're doing all these but standing that shaft up, you need to be thinking about trying to lay that shaft down on the downswing to swing it out to the ball. Understanding your angle of attack, trying to play with controlling it, will have massive benefits if you're trying to home that strike in. Now the final part of why people struggle to strike their drivers, and this is the key part that I've worked with students on for all my years since getting a launch monitor where you could show them and measure them where their strike was, is that people actually don't realise they're allowed to practice strike. And what I mean by that is point one is you've got to hit shots and have some understanding of where you've hit it on the face. That isn't as easy as it sounds for some golfers. And point two is you then got to have some cues, some tricks to try and move strike around. Let me show you what I mean. So I'm going to try and hit target with my driver. I'm going to hit it as hard as I can for the moment. And then I'm going to work in what strike did to anything. So I caught that slightly on the bottom, maybe on the bottom fraction heel side if anything, but maybe just straight on the bottom. I can't see strike anywhere at the minute. Let's have a look where I hit it. So slightly on the bottom, slightly on the heel side. So what does that awareness allow me to do? Well, it allows me to think about what I did and what came out the other end. So what I put into what came out with the ball, and maybe think I don't have to change anything. Because on that swing, I wanted to go 111. Look, I was 111. So, I mean, I wanted to go 113, but I didn't want to be under 110 in the 109s. Ball speed is only 157. Well, it will be down there. This club head speed with a better strike will allow that ball speed to lift. And the spin was maybe 200 or 300 revs more, which means the carry here was slightly smaller. My angles path 0.4, face 0.2 were good. I was millimeters off with my strike, and I need to work that into my shots, into my patterns, into my dispersions. Again, back to the original points. If you're millimeters off a massive up to the top, down to the bottom, massive high toes, low heels, if you're dotting all around that face, you're going to see 60, 70 yards dispersions, left and right, short and long. You might think, oh, I didn't quite get here, I needed to get more here, like you see the golfers on the telly, you know, trying to get into these slots and positions. The general rule of thumb with a lot of golfers is if they've got big deviations in their delivery, so inconsistencies, it's because it relates back to my original data set where I had faces really deviating. It was because they were such glancing blows. I was just trying to manage that. So I would fix that with some wrist angles, get in some better positions, but my patterns of deliveries will be very similar from each set. So the deviation is going to be bigger, but very repeatable. So what I'm going to do on this next shot is literally nothing different, because I was millimeters away, literally millimeters away from where I want to hit that ball. That felt more toey, and look at it turn. Look at that go. And it is, I can see it now on the monitor. The 111 head, 160 ball was better. The face was in a better place, or the strike was closer to where I want it, about here. So it's kind of millimeters off. This one was closer and safer. This one, with the face slightly closing, is just causing a massive snap hook. So now what I'm gonna do is try and put a feel in there that moves it back into this area. So I'm not gonna change my positions. I'm going to try and change how I deliver that club. So little cues for me. I'm going to stand fraction taller. That often helps me get it a little bit more nearer the heel. And I'm also going to address the ball. So down on the ground here, I have a tendency to put it here at the beginning, so out of the toe. So what I'm going to do is actually move it slightly in the heel in my vision, which generally gets the strike moving away from the high toe duck hook. So ask yourself this, think about what I just said there. I'm working on my intricacies of understanding my strike, and then in turn my practice sessions that have tried to manipulate that strike. So I've got a little cue that might work for me more than it won't. You need to find your cues. Is it adjusting it more out the heel? Is it standing a bit taller? Is it getting a little bit closer, a little bit further away? Little shuffles, millimeters around. You don't need your coaches for that. They're tiny little shuffles that might just get you some better patterns of strike. So a little taller, a bit more out the heel at address. Called it off the top, but I didn't get it nowhere near the toe. Much more in the middle. So a little bit high on the face, but exactly where I wanted it, just needed to be a few millimeters lower, here. Anything going from here out to the toe with the way I'm swinging at the moment, good chance I'm going to get those snap hooks. So practicing strike, look what's happening to like this shot here. How many of you stood on the range and have hit this shot? Look how far further left it is than these two. And thought, oh, I must have rolled my wrists there, or I got closed on the way back, all those kind of ideas. On the 3 shots I've hit, 0.2 face open, but 0.2 of a degree, 1.8 closed to 0.9 open. 3 degrees difference in the face and 2 degrees in this one. It's a standard deviation of face to path of 1.2. It's the 16 millimeters toe that killed me, compared to 16 millimeters high, but only 3 millimeters on the toe. So going this way kept it straighter, but different spins, different directions, different distances. This way and this way will really start deviating your direction. Working strike into every shot you hit. That means if you can spray foot spray on the club, so you've got a mark of strike each time that you refer to. You can put tape on the club, that will affect the ball flight, but it might give you some ideas of where you're striking it on the face. Putting a black line on a Sharpie on the ball and then getting those black lines to appear on your face can help you monitor your strike. If you are playing golf and you hit a strike and you can't predict where you've hit that ball on the face, you can't feel it from shot to shot, it'll be very hard for you on the course. Just think about it. I've got out of bounds at the left, so I'm not allowed to hit that toey dipper. I'm going to do this swing. I still want to try and get my speeds in there. And that's just pushing up the right side, no problem, no chance of that going left. What I did on that one is I didn't swing slower, I actually swung a little bit quicker. Ball speed was slower, because I tried to move it nowhere near towards the toe. I kept it down that center line. And for me to do that on that instance, I actually, on this shot, out bounds down the left, reacted to my strike pattern that I'm aware of through my strike. I actually addressed that ball much more out here. Now, I'm not saying this is the answer for you. This is just a trigger I found for me. You need to find your own triggers. The actual tip, which lots of people often get a little bit lost in. I remember when I was teaching full time, I would give these tips to people and you could see them thinking, yeah, but what about there and there? Surely that is going to affect the strike and those kind of ideas. Well, it can do if you're not managing face the path, which I said in the other tips. But if you are, but then at the same time you're not working your strike patterns in and how to manipulate those strike patterns by millimeters, you ain't going to be able to function on the golf course. You're going to get surprised, toey, duck hookers, which we all get. I still get them. But I do have weapons that if I get one, of how to not get many more of them, hopefully. The sad truth is golf often wins. So you can never stop, but you can try and manage. Let me know in that comment section down below, which one of these, if any, are you doing when you're practicing? Are you trying to manage strike? Are you working it into every shot? I can tell you now for a fact that every good player I've ever worked with, played with, or known is working strike in as the first port of call to understanding if things have gone right. Where you get real concern, the most horrible feeling, which is counter to what lots of other golfers will be feeling, if I hit one, strike it perfectly and look up and it doesn't go in the direction I want it to go. Now I'm really worried with what I've done. Generally, for most golfers, 7 to 9 times out of 10, your bad shots, your off-direction shots from your normal dispersion coming from here. Start from here and work out. In the comments, let me know. Does that help? Does it make sense or not? If you want me to do other videos on other subjects, let me know in that comment section, as always.